Yeah, but
introducing
like being a
yourself.
young father at 21 because that's your age now, like that's a fucking spin out.
Yeah.
Like to me,
Yeah.
because I see you as still such a
Well, I'm in no position to have a kid.
child. Like I see you as like still a young boy in my eyes. But then I think, well, obviously you're an adult, but to do that, like for me to be 21 and then have a child, crazy.
Yeah.
Like I don't really appreciate it until now.
Yeah.
That like, and it was probably more your 21st where it became a really big realization.
Yeah, well, were you already living out of home, or do you have to move out?
No, that's the thing. Like mum and I moved to Rabina.
Yeah. Did you have the option to stay at home?
Oh, well, we as soon as we found that out, then we just went and looked for a place to move to.
Yeah.
And then that was that one in Rabina. But yeah, like it's funny because when I knew that you were going to be born, I'd have all of these sort of fantasy sort of things of thinking about pushing. We didn't know if you were going to be a boy or a girl, but just pushing. Like it's funny because I would have a thought about pushing you around in a pram, like in just that sense of pride.
Yeah.
But I didn't. Like I felt like I knew that that's what I'd feel. But then when I actually had it, I don't think you'll ever know until you've had one.
No.
And I mean, I'm not sure if that's going to happen anytime soon, but
No,
that's
can't see it.
That's a spin out. Like that feeling that you have of pushing a child around when I'm still so young. But that's what I said in your 21st speech. Like it's absolutely positive that you were sent from a higher order because to give us clarity and direction on where we were going.
Yeah, well, it seemed like Mum especially was on a bit more of going down the wrong road a little bit.
Yeah, well, she certainly took her own journey.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you asked Nan and Pop, they'd certainly say that.
Well, on my 21st, like she had the speech written out on her phone, but then she pocketed it and just went from the heart.
Yeah, I don't like but yeah, I don't know if Mum did that because she just wanted to speak like that, rather it be so structured.
I think so, because instead of looking at your phone, looking up at everyone, maybe speak from the heart was a bit more raw.
I think so. But yeah, I don't know. That's what Renee said to me. And I said in the speech, Renee's like, are you going to write a speech? And I was like, no, I just want to speak real and what comes to me from the heart. So, but the biggest trip out for me was that exactly that you're 21. Like I was 2 weeks 21 when you were born.
On your way to England.
Well, that was all such a thing, hey?
Yeah.
But, and I've been asked that question so many times by people about, is there regret of not going and doing that sort of stuff? Yeah. And it's so hard to answer because I don't regret it because I've got you. But is there a little part that's empty because I didn't do it? Probably.
It was only normal.
Well, that's a normal thing. Yeah. But
what could have been.
Yeah, but then you're living with regret.
Yeah.
Which is a really dangerous place to be.
There's other stuff that doesn't happen if you do go to England. Like you might not make as many mates here. People you played at Surfers with, people you played at Burley with.
I don't know. I just don't think you can sit there and...
What's the big what if?
And wallow in the what if. Because it's not... That wasn't my journey.
Yeah.
That wasn't my path.
Yeah.
So, and that's sort of what I'd say to people, is that it whatever happened. And then, here you are. And like it's the greatest gift you can ever have is children. and it's the greatest teachings and learnings you'll ever feel or understand about yourself.
You've had it twice now, but 20,
Well, Fraser,
20
so he's
and a half years in between.
20 years in between.
Come out of retirement.
But he's so much, there's just so many similarities, and I don't know if it's because he's a boy versus Grace, you know, who's like obviously a girl, like just, he's so chilled, like he's happy just to sit there. You were so happy just to sit there, and just go with the flow.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He's 20 years difference, but I feel like these sort of discussions would be interesting to being young parents to you, but then you being a child of young parents. Like, what is that? I feel like that's a really interesting dynamic for you to be, because we're rolling up to school stuff when we're not even 30.
3, 4 years out of school.
Yeah, like we're going to your school stuff when
10 years
you
out
know,
of school.
like I'm 26, 27. And inherently most of the parents there are, I wouldn't know, but I'm sure they were probably at least late 30s, early 40s. And you look at your mates' parents now.
Oh, yeah. Well, Summer's parents are probably closer to Nan and Pop and Nanny and Papa's age than they are you guys.
Totally are. And so, I mean, that was another dynamic to try and assimilate with your mates' parents and have that dynamic. It was okay because of footy. That side of things was all right. But then to go to birthday parties and all those sort of things, like, still so young. Talking to or trying to have conversations with people that are nearly 40. Can you do it? Of course you can, because that's fine. But yeah, they're the things that I've always been interested for you to find out what it looks like for you.
Well, I mean, it couldn't be too different because I think everyone always says that you're never ready to be a parent. Like, you can brace yourself for it, but because it's a new thing, whether you're 35 or 21, you don't really have experience in that.
Yeah,
being
no.
a parent.
But I'm talking about you personally. What were your thoughts and feelings around, you know, growing up with young
Yeah, I didn't know any different.
young
It's just
parents?
like my parents when I had mates at school, they were like, their parents were 45 and my parents were 28. Like, it's just another age.
But there was no fit. You didn't.
Nah.
It wasn't a. You didn't feel any
No.
different or. I've always wondered that.
I thought it was cool because then we can, even now, I'm 21, we can still go have a kick and go play sport together and stuff, where everyone else's parents are sitting at home doing nothing.
Well, yeah, and it's important, and that's to me too. Like, I love all of that, but then now Fraser, it actually kicks me into gear to really want to stay even more.
Go again.
No, just who knows
no,
about
to
that, but
stay fit
healthy,
for another, yeah.
to stay fit and healthy, so you can do that.
Yeah.
So that's really prompted me and triggered me into gear to go and stay fit and healthy and not just become that norm. You know, that norm of an Australian father that sinks piss and sits there and watches the footy, and like, I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a really beneficial way to lead by example for your children either.
Nah, well,
what would you think about that, being a child?
Well, as a child, yeah, you're probably right. But then now I can sit back and I'm advocate for earning your beers. If you're going to have a weekend on the piss or a night on the piss, like, do something in the morning.
Leading up to it.
Yeah. Earn them a little bit. But if you're a kid and you just see your dad sitting down and sinking piss all the time, like, you're not going to know any different.
It's got to have such an impact on you as a child, like, not being of that that mind or not having that sense of leadership from your dad to show you the way. I mean, we've spoken heaps about in the last couple of months about leading by example through action, not through words.
Yeah.
Which is probably the greatest way that young men or men learn is through action.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we can't inherently, a lot of men won't sit down and have dialogue and talk about it because generally it's in one ear out the other.
But then also the only time you do have dialogue and get in a deep and meaningful is when you're on the piss all of the time.
Sometimes.
Like, I love you, mate. Best player.
Maybe, but I feel like we've got a relationship that we don't really need to
Oh,
be
you and I do, but
yeah.
I think the stereotypical male.
Or father-son dynamic.
Yeah, or even father-son dynamic. I don't even think they do it when they're blind drunk.
No,
I think
100%.
between mates, like, you wouldn't do it when you're sober all of the time, but then when you get on the piss, everyone's best mates.
It's very much a bonding thing, isn't it?
You can kind of figure out who you can associate with and who you can't.
True. Yeah, that weeds a lot of shit out.
Yeah.
But, like, if you think about the people that I would have associated with and have young children now, or young boys, they've always said that how jealous they are of our dynamic because I can actually sit there and tell you that I love you and we'll hug all the time and hello, goodbye, whatever it is. For whatever reason, they can't do that.
Well, I think it's a credit to you because, like, you've grown up in the same era as all of them, and their dad would have never done it to them. Like your dad.
My dad didn't do that to me.
Yeah, so it's a credit to you to be able to stop it.
But I feel like you, Renee and I spoke about this the other night about drawing a line in the sand and changing the generational issues from parents.
Yeah, well, because you've done it now, it like makes it so much. It seems like normal to me, so it's going to be easy for me to do it to my kids and my son.
Totally.
But if you had another bloke or another dad that didn't do that to his son, that's just normal for the son, so they're probably not going to do it.
Well, I'm not going to say who the people are, but they just can't. They can't understand, and then they can't pluck up the courage to even tell their son that they love them or proud of them. That's bewildering to me because I made a conscious effort to say that you will never have that sense of lack or not feeling like you're loved or you're heard, or sometimes maybe I went too far the other way and didn't pull you up on things because I didn't want you to feel shit, if that makes sense, because I would have grown up without that. You know, it was always you were spoken to, you were always spoken to about what you didn't do well, like all the negativity around it. And if you did well, then you were supposed to.
Yeah.
You were supposed to do well. So, which it's not right because it just, all it does is give you the ability to grow up with a sense of fear, like a fear of failure.
Yeah.
And then I'm reading a book at the moment, which is from Robert Glover, No More Mr. Nice Guy. But it's not like that you got to turn around and be an asshole. It's more about how you inherit this nice guy syndrome because as a kid you grew up being told what to do, and the only way you got validation is by doing something for your parents, whether it was a chore, whether it was whatever it might have been. You were then, that's how you felt a sense of pride. So as you grow up as a man, you start just giving yourself to everything and everyone without actually caring and thinking about yourself, because that belief's become ingrained in you. Pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting read. for anyone, I reckon. But they don't. These men or mates, it's sad that they can't do that.
Yeah.
They can't even do it intoxicated, with their sons.
Yeah.
But their sons they yearn for that, I'm sure.
I'd say so.
Well, you would, wouldn't you? Like, I know when I was a young boy, I would have yearned for that.
Yeah, I would probably leave you with an empty feeling.
It's hard for you because I guess you've never really had to feel it.
Not from like you or mum or anything like that.
No. It's a pretty interesting dynamic to probably delve into why. It's like a sense of embarrassment or like they just don't
scared to be vulnerable.
Vulnerable with your own son.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Mm.
What needs to happen for them to actually embrace their sons or children? Like, it's not even about a son. It's like even their young daughters.
Well, I think
it shouldn't even be a generalisation.
Is it not different with daughters, don't you think?
Do you think daughters are more forthcoming to be nurtured by their father? Their father
because it's always like the dad's a little girl.
Maybe.
And it's easier to be vulnerable with a female, I think, for that, like a father.
Or do you think it's the dynamic that we've been around in terms of a football sporting clubs? Do you think that macho-ness from a father to his sons would have an impact?
Well, I probably couldn't speak on that because I haven't been around a group that isn't involved in sport all that much. Like, the only other group would be work. But apart from that, like, I haven't really associated with anyone that hasn't been involved in sport, to be honest. Like, friendship-wise.
But what would be your take on it? I mean, you know, I would imagine you know the people that I'm talking about with their young sons.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's exactly how I grew up with that standover. Like, that's what it is. It's a real standover. There's no nurturing in terms of building you up to feel like you're capable. Everything was sort of done for you in a way, and then if you failed, then you heard about it. Even if you did well, all the stuff was picked out of it.
Yeah.
That you did poorly on. There needs to be a real shift, and there needs to be awareness brought to fathers being better with their children in terms of being able to articulate their thoughts, feelings, emotions about it. And I know it's a huge push now in society.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that still can't do it. Where does the change happen? How does the change happen?
Stuff like this, I guess.
Do you reckon?
People bring awareness to it. Dad listening to this might realise he's been a bit of a shit father figure, not being open with his son and saying he loves him.
What in your eyes, what's a shit father figure?
Well, just not setting the right example for your son to follow.
Yeah, well, let's delve into it. So, what examples of what? Like, you tell me, as a young son, I know it's hard for you because you probably don't feel like you had missed out on much of that. But your mates...
Yeah, well, it's hard not to name names when you try and think
you
of
don't
an
have
example.
to name names. I mean, I'm sure they'll... most of them
know.
will know. Most of them will know who they are. But yeah, who, like let's break it down from your point of view. What makes a good father figure?
Always looking out for your like my best interests, the son's best interests.
Yeah, but what are they? Like, let's go. Like, what are your best interests? Are you talking physically? Are you talking at school? Are you talking emotionally? Like,
Yeah, I think always being available to have a chat about whatever it is.
like an open door.
Yeah, open door.
And do you think that you as a son need to have the courage to go to your father about that? Or it doesn't have to be a father, like go to a parent.
Yeah, but you only have that courage to go to them if they seem inviting about it.
Mm-hmm.
You can say something but then not act on it.
Do you think that a parent, it could be somebody else other than your parent? Do you think that's important to you?
Yeah, you always have role models outside of, like Chris was a pretty big one. There's always role models outside of just your dad, because some people their father isn't a role model as such, so you find that in something else or in someone else.
Do you think that you would still have the same conversations with somebody else if your parent wasn't available in that sort to have
Yeah, I reckon, because
those chats?
You got to confide in someone. Doesn't really matter who it is. It should be your dad, but sometimes there's others. It can be your dad as well, but sometimes there's others that you can confide in.
But would you take those steps to do that? Do you think that your now generation have the ability to be a far more open than the past?
Yeah, well, it's been funny. Like it wouldn't feel like steps as such. I don't think it's just a bond that gets created from relating to stuff, and
in terms of what?
For someone else to become your role model, a father figure. Like while they're becoming your role model, you wouldn't feel like that you're taking steps for them to become your role model. It just happens. Like you just create a relationship with them.
So you can tick that off as not necessarily having to be a parent.
Yeah.
However, but you would still far more appreciate going to one of your parents.
Yeah. Well, also your parent is always there to go to. Like if it's someone at the footy club, for example, like you might only see him twice a week.
Do you sit there with that person, let's say it's at the footy club that you've confided in, and do you expect it to be the vault, or would you imagine that person would then come to your parent and say, hey, Connor's said these things to me, I just want to let you know where he's at? Or would you think that would stay in the vault?
I'd say it'd depend on what the relationship between, we'll use it as an example, like it depends what the relationship would be between you and the person that I've gone to. If you guys were close as well, I reckon it should stay with them. But if they're not, I think that person might feel uncomfortable me going to them and not you. Possibly.
Yeah. It's pretty, I guess it all comes down to you and the parent being available and probably emotionally available to be able to sit with you on it and not cast judgment. I feel like my experience is I would never have had the courage to do it because I didn't really ever feel like I was going to be heard or validated. So you just suppress and suppress and suppress.
Who would you go to when you were a kid?
I couldn't do it with Dad.
Yeah.
and I honestly couldn't do it with mum
Because
because it would be as harsh as it sounds. It would be met with judgment,
Yeah.
like anything of that sort of nature. So it was almost a seen and not heard sort of environment. Who would I go to? I would have gone to. It would have been, yeah, coaches, I guess. But being, I'm not sure if it was like that for you, but it takes somebody to understand or see that you're down or you're not right to then prompt you to talk.
Mm.
I feel like maybe now you're far more, you've got more of an ability to prompt and go and have those conversations without somebody probing you. Yeah. Would that be a case for you with your mates and stuff like that? Or do you think that they'd still need probing?
Well, it's funny, like if I were to think, there's only a couple of like mates that I'd feel comfortable going to and becoming vulnerable with. But that's your real mates. Like I know so many people, but there's probably only, nearly count them on one hand, I reckon, the amount of mates that I'd go to confide in. I feel comfortable opening up to.
And how is it received by them?
Yeah, well, good. That's why I'd go to them.
How long have you known them for?
It varies between each one, I'd say.
Okay. But what would those discussions look like? Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's also age as well and like their maturity levels. Like I think H is a good one. Like he's a bit older than me. Like he's not old, but he's a captain of our footy club. Like you feel comfortable going to him about stuff.
And why does he carry? Because he carries that sense of leadership.
Yeah.
If he wasn't a captain of the footy club, would you still see him as a leader that you could go to? Or do you think that because there's a title, you gravitate towards that?
Well, I mean, I could say that it's probably because he's a leader, because wouldn't have gone to him 2 years ago when he wasn't the captain, but I also didn't really know him 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, I think he's a pretty easy person to go to. I don't think it's just because he's a skipper.
Right. So the other discussions that you'd have with your mates? Is it
surface level stuff, I reckon. Like if you were to be like, oh, doing pretty shit, oh, that's no good, what happened? What's going on? And then it'd just be dead there.
So do you think that there needs to be an awareness around you guys having more of a skill set to, like, not being a therapist by any means, but having a little bit more of ability to understand, like having a few more tools in the kit bag, so to speak?
Yeah, probably.
To delve a little bit deeper for them.
Yeah, but there's also a fine line between, sometimes you just want to vent. I know with Summer and I, if she comes home, says she had a shit day at work, I'm often trying to give her a solution for the shit day, not just listening.
I've no doubt in the world that our future chats will be talking about relationship dynamics, because I've been so guilty of jumping straight to being a fixer, because inherently it's what we are.
Yeah.
You know, Renee and I spoke about the other day about Grace and then Fraser and you, that we're built and born as boys to play with trucks and toys and build stuff, fix stuff. Young girls are nurtured with dolls and prams, and I know it's a generalisation, and as we grow older, that's still how we roll.
Yeah. So, it's got to the point before.
She would have the shits.
Well, she has the shits, and I can see why now, but now before she starts kicking off, I ask her, do you want a solution or do you want to just vent? She'll be like, I just want to vent.
Okay, that's amazing. But where does that conversation come from, or your awareness to ask that? How did you know that? Because it's very rare.
Yeah, well, she's a little bit more understanding than the...
No, I'm talking about you. How did you come to understand to say, do you want my opinion on this topic, or do you just want to vent?
Yeah, well, I think because...
Where does that come from?
I don't know. Sometimes she just wants to vent. Sometimes I just want to vent. Like, you don't...
No, your awareness to ask that question of her.
Do you want a solution or do you just want to vent?
Yes.
Oh, because she said, sometimes I just want to vent. Sometimes you can try and help me fix it.
Okay, so you just picked up what she was putting down in terms of...
Yeah, she's pretty black and white with it.
Yeah, well, that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
But that's an amazing thing, because you don't then go down the whole rabbit hole of not listening and trying to fix, when a lot of the time it's just a vent.
I'm still guilty of it sometimes though, because some of the shit she comes home with, it's like seems like such an easy fix to me. Seems like an easy fix, but I'm not in her shoes, so
it's really habitual as a man.
Yeah, I reckon
to
it's
go straight to it.
Yeah, a pretty common thing.
No, 100%.
But
it's
it's
common.
Uncommon to be where like Summer and I are, to be able to just let her vent, or if she wants a solution, give her that. Like most of the time, I reckon most blokes would just give her a solution and then be set. That's the only way. You wouldn't just listen.
No, for sure. But and like, I still to this day have to check myself all the time.
Yeah.
And just be really aware of that, because it's so easy to go straight into solution and fix mode when it's not what it's about. I feel like a lot of women would fix their own sort of what they're trying to voice just by saying it and you listening.
Yeah.
And not saying, like, just fully understanding it. And the kicker for me the other night was saying to Renee that as men, we can understand intellectually what they are saying, and we can repeat back everything that your partner has said. Like, we can grasp it and repeat it, but to actually validate her feelings and be truly understanding, you've got to jump into her shoes and stand in her space to really get it, which we just generally wouldn't do. So there's listening and understanding, but then there's listening and really understanding. Because I feel like I know one of my biggest flaws in the past has been going straight to feeling like a problem that has arisen is an attack. But it's not. It's not an attack. It's just your partner not happy with something. But then you delve back to being a child, and that would happen. Like, everything was judgment or attack.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that we'll go, we'll delve right into that sort of stuff at another time, because I feel like we'll need to clue some people up about...
Start naming names.
Well, I don't know. Maybe name names, but I don't know. Who knows? But because they're really important topics, aren't they? Of where I don't think we need to name names, but people will know who they are. Most definitely.
Yeah.
So what else, as a young man in today's world, you say it's surface level stuff with your mates.
Yeah.
Given the stats that we face around people taking their own lives, do you think that there needs to be more done in around awareness?
Well, I think, I don't know, we can only do so much. I think we're on the right trajectory, but like it's not going to fix itself like within 3 or 5 years, however long we've been more aware of it. It's just going to continuously drop down
Through awareness?
through awareness, and I just keep on top of it. Like it's not something that's going to be fixed overnight.
No, by no means at all. But I mean, you've sat in the pocket of experiencing that from, you know, young mates of yours too. Like what needs to happen? Like what's your take on it? Like why? Is it social media? Is it now phones? Is it the way we live? Like the pressures of society? Like what is it? What's your take on that?
Well, I don't know if it's like more prominent now, or it just seems like it's more prominent because there's been more awareness brought to it.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know the numbers and stuff like that, but maybe 40 years ago it was still the same, but we just weren't really too concerned about it, and it wasn't a focus point in everyone's lives. But now, because it is, and there's more light brought on it.
Yeah, probably. But what do you think is needed, like, to do more? Like, is it a school thing? You know, like when you're at school.
Oh, for sure.
Was it a taboo subject, like
like how
topic, or
like you do 13 years of math, all to use probably an eighth of it when you leave school.
Well, you wouldn't even go close to using an eighth of it now.
What estimating I do.
Oh, there you go.
But like, so that's so much time not wasted, but like doing stuff that you're probably not going to use once you leave school. But stuff like that sort of stuff, men's mental health, like that can be focused on so much more, and it's always going to be prominent in your life.
But I mean, yes, we sit here as men, but there's obviously, it seems like, once again, I don't know the stats on it too, but I'm sure we could easily find them, that it's women as well. But I mean, we can only sit here as men.
Yeah.
And do you think that it's something that needs to be taken to schools? I mean, Living, they obviously do work in schools and and workplaces in the mines and all those sort of things, but there was nothing like that at school. Like, you had the chaplain.
Yeah, but it's also like good luck getting a year 8 boy to buy into that.
But you never know, because that year 8 boy's dad might have taken his own life.
Yeah, so if you do it...
I'm sure, and it's really sad, that you could probably consider that everybody has been affected by somebody taking their own life.
Yeah.
A family member, a friend. Like, that's a pretty scary thing. I don't know anybody that wouldn't have been affected in their life.
Yeah, well, it's the same as having a compulsory subject at school. Like, it's only going to apply directly to, well, 2% of the class might buy into it, but that's 2% of the class that you've...
Well, next year that becomes 4%.
Yeah.
You know, and then that compounds to 8% the next year, and then 16%. Like, I'm sure it would.
You're always going to have kids sitting in the back of the class.
The rogues.
Like, sitting in the back of the class doing fuck all. But I don't think
They're probably the ones that need to listen the most.
But it's not. It's those ones you got to think about, but it's also like, yeah, at least you're putting it out there and giving them the tools, because they might not listen directly, but then if they're going through something, they're going to remember something from the class.
Yeah, 100%.
Even if you before school you go to your form class or care class, whatever you called it, where you got year 7s to 12s all in the same class, and you do that in the mornings, if it's 10 minutes worth of it, just something.
Do you think that like, are you saying at your form class, like when you're
like
going to do the role?
Because you do the role and then you're in there for 20 minutes.
Do you think that it should be a topic, like a conversation starter, or do you think that it should be maybe 10 minutes of mindfulness? Or
because you're not going to have you're not going to have kids in the class getting vulnerable, I don't think.
No, it's more about establishing some mental awareness around how you're feeling.
Tools.
Or mindfulness and all those sort of things. Of course you're going to have rogues that'll sit there and won't do it, but if that helps one person in that form class, well, that's one person that doesn't become part of the stats.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you think there's a place for something like that?
Oh, definitely.
In schools?
I think it's like for sports as well, like when we had that keep your feet? The guy that came in.
Find your feet.
Find your feet.
Yeah. Tommy, yeah.
Like that was great for us as a team as well, because it brings everyone together so much more.
Did you do it as you did it as a student, and then we did it as a father and son? Remember that? So did he go to you?
We came in when we were in Sport X.
Yeah, collectively.
But then he did it at that school
that night
thing as well. Yeah.
So you'd seen him twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he does, like, his stuff's incredible.
Yeah. So what he does is great, but it's like coming into school once every 2 years or what.
Well, it's just himself, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. It's a real, like, that's probably what needs to happen. Do you think people, like kids, would actually buy in?
Yeah, well, that's just probably not. But as you said, it's a one person that if it helps in the class, it's one.
And what about from grade 7's now, high school?
Yeah.
So you're what, 12?
But they're
13?
Yeah, they're not really thinking about that stuff.
No,
yet.
but that's what I'm saying. Is that too much to place on a young child? But it's not pressure. It's just checking in with yourself.
You just like start off like weaning it in, I guess. Like when you do sex ed at school, you're not going to the maximum that sex is. You're just doing the early stuff that you probably need to consider and think about.
Yeah.
So you just, if you were
but you've got some rogues that take the piss out of that too.
Yeah, well, you're always going to have that at school.
It's just there's got to be a way to have more. Because that's a real challenge. But then, it's a challenge for adult, like 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, like.
Yeah.
Just wonder what the answer is, and I'm sure we'll delve into it further. Anything else as a young man you think that can help?
Yeah, I just think it's going to be a constant climb to drop the numbers down. I think we're on the right track. You can always do more. It's just, a matter of what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, sporting clubs is a big one because that's probably the least vulnerable people, I think.
But is it though?
From my...
I feel like...
Because it's all men, like... a lot of them
Macho.
are macho man, like real masculine, toxic masculinity at times.
But sometimes that's the greatest cover up. Like I've been that.
Yeah, well, that's why it's good to have it in there, because it can show you that you don't have to be that person and put up that front.
Like it'd be an amazing thing to get to a place in society to have men and have strong men with strong characters, but can still understand the essence of vulnerability. And vulnerability, not just as in, crying and breaking down and pouring your heart out like that, but being vulnerable with yourself and then others to really understand who you are and what you're about.
Yeah.
Some boys don't have their dads to do that, and then some dads don't have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
It's why mums are so important too. To be able to nurture that, for you, and then maybe the fathers can just be the cherry on the top to keep establishing that.
I always think like it's always. I know when I was growing up that it'd always feel better, I reckon, talking to like man to man rather than female to man, like female to boy.
You would rather speak to a man.
Yeah, I feel like they can relate to it a little bit more, I reckon.
Why do you think that it's too women are too probing?
Honestly, I'm not too sure. I just like there was a easier sense, and it was more. It might have felt better to be man to man because it's a bit more rare, and when you are, it like might mean a little bit more.
But you feel and you think that it's more about being related to by a male.
Yeah, possibly.
Do you think that would be like that? Are you just speaking from your own experience, or do you think commonly that would be a case?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I just think it always feels still now better to have a chat man to man. It's probably it just feels more rewarding. I think
But then, do you want out of that conversation? Do you want solutions out of it, or is it just a point of having a chat?
Having a chat, but then going back to like how you can only. I feel like I can only open up to a couple of mates. I think following up on them and making sure they're all right a week down the track or whatever is a pretty big part of it. Because a lot of the time you just have that one conversation and then that might be the last you hear.
But you said that a lot of your conversations with your mates is very surface level.
Mm.
What would you be checking? Like, where can the conversation go to warrant you checking in on him?
Oh, it'll just be as simple as a text, like, hey mate, after a chat the other day, just making sure he's doing better.
Have you had life experience with that in surface level conversations with one of your mates that you thought should be a bit more? Have you ever been concerned about the mental health of your mates and then being in that state of fear that he could potentially take his own life? Have you felt that?
Nah, not like not close mates like that. And I mean, no.
But what about not even necessarily close mates? Has there been discussions around circles of friends or groups that somebody has been like there was a worry about somebody's welfare?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what did people, did anyone do anything about it?
Well, I reckon like when it did happen, they pushed a lot of people away. They thought they could fix it themselves. And then when you do that, when you push people away, they're like, oh, you're pushing me away. Like, why would I reach out again after a couple of times?
And do you think that comes down to people maybe having a better skill set in terms of, not, as I said, not being a therapist, but there's that thing that I can ask you if you're okay, and you go, yeah, I'm fine. But ask it again, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. But then being able to ask it another way without being too, without being assumptive.
Yeah.
Because if you can ask that question again of that person, everybody inherently just goes, yeah, no, I'm going great.
Oh, yeah.
But then if you can go, are you really? Like, are you actually going okay? Because I feel like you're not yourself at the moment. What's going on? Like, just forming the question in a different way to make them feel comfortable.
They also got to want to be helped as well.
But if you can create that space of safety, it goes a long way. But it doesn't necessarily even have to be someone close to you. Does it really? So, really interesting, those areas that you can go to create a safe space for people. And yeah, there is a lot of awareness around it, but you've got to actually put yourself in a position to want to be aware. As you can't jam it down people's throats.
Yeah.
But I feel it's very important.
Yeah.
Because it happens too much.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Yeah, I just think following up on them, making sure after you've had that initial chat.
But what would that then look like? A text message?
It could be anything, really. I mean, a call or like meet up for a coffee or anything like that. That's always better than just a text. Because it's easy to text stuff. It's so much harder to say it to your face.
Do you think that the text message can then be, that's the perfect way to then have a lead into another conversation?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know, if you have a chat over the phone and then a week later you follow up, you're like, hey mate, just checking in again, we catch up for a coffee or anything like that.
Is that what you do at 21? You'd go and catch up with a coffee with your mate?
Yeah.
Bullshit. Would you?
Go play golf, catch up for a coffee.
That sort of blows me away a little bit.
Hot chocolate if you don't like coffee yet.
Chai lattes.
Yeah.
So you would actually have the maturity to go and catch up for a coffee and sit over a coffee?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, it doesn't have to be a coffee. It can be anything.
No, but I'm saying, you would actually have, you and your mates would have the ability to catch up at a cafe and chew the fat about where you're at?
Yeah, I've never had that. If it came to that, I'd be pretty confident. I've never had that to happen. But I'd be pretty confident I could put it out there and a lot of them would be okay with it.
It's a different way, isn't it? Because commonly you would imagine that it'd be, let's go and have a beer.
Yeah. I mean, like we said at the start, that like you always open up a little bit more after a couple of beers, but
I just don't think, like, I've come from that, we'll go and have a beer and, nut some stuff out and all those sort of things, which, it's been great and it's fine. But it's always been an association around alcohol.
Yeah.
Where you're saying to me that it's not it's not for you.
Yeah.
That's a real generational little shift there. Yeah. Most definitely. Because I would still, like, if mates ring up, hey, travelling, I'm going okay. Haven't seen you for a while, let's go and catch up for a couple of beers. And it's like, I'm not really interested in having a beer, let's go and have a coffee.
Yeah.
They'd be like, the fuck? Are you all right?
Yeah. Depends on the type of mates.
No,
as well.
it does. It does, because from like mates in a professional sense, that your friends you have professionally, it'd definitely be an association of a coffee.
Yeah.
But then the mates you knock around with very rarely would be to go and have a coffee.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting sort of generational, like, little dynamic shift, that's for sure. What else? Anything else?
No, I don't think so. No.
Is that it? That's us? Is that an hour?
Be about. We didn't.
2:37 or something like that.
Yeah,
I think it was. Should we try and just do some, like, get some voice over stuff?
Intro stuff, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? Actually, we probably need to understand the wording around that. That anything that we speak about, is purely our own experiences. We're not professionals.
Yeah.
I feel like, mate, we'll just do that with Caitlin, I think.
Yeah. But we can do some intro stuff.
Yeah, like what? No, but I'm saying that part of the intro would have to be saying, like, having a disclaimer.
Yeah.
Around that. So an intro and then an outro. So
thanks for listening.
Who's listening?
All our listeners.
A couple of million listeners in the next 5 weeks.
All the boys have found the Instagram page.
Have they?
Yeah.
All 37 of them.
They're probably all my mates.
I haven't been through it, but all right. Good job.